Welcome to Kiss the Reviews. I'm Armando. That's Corey. And today we're doing 1990s Home Alone. Before we get started and before we get into this, if you want to follow me or Corey on Twitter, you could follow me at Junior D's. You could follow Corey at Idle Poncho. And let's get off and running. This movie, Home Alone, 1990. I don't know about you. I know there's a lot of people that this has become like a staple for Christmas.
100%.
And so we decided we'd do one Christmas movie because Merry Christmas. This is coming out on Christmas Day. So we decided to do our one Christmas movie, and we decided to make it Home Alone. This was like the pinnacle of, I guess adolescence for us, right around that 1990 mark.
Yeah.
I was like 13ish. So
then I was probably only 2.
Ha ha, you're old.
This movie, when it came out, it was a laugh riot. I was scared to go back because like my wife watches this every year. My wife and my son. The last couple of years I've kind of checked out on it. Just because again, we've gone through this with movies before. I don't like a whole lot of like Dennis the Menace-y kind of kids make me angry movies.
Sure.
So I haven't watched this in a couple of years, all the way through, beginning to end. But I was surprised at my reaction to this. And I think everybody will be as well. But
Okay.
let's jump into this.
Let's
Home
get it.
Alone stars Macaulay Culkin as Kevin McAllister, Joe Pesci as Harry, Daniel Stern as Marv, John Hurd as Peter McAllister, and Catherine O'Hara as Kate McAllister.
That's our lady on this show.
That's right.
Interesting fact about Daniel Stern on this movie. I learned this on a Netflix, like UK and Ireland channel, where you can find more of these. But Daniel Stern, was not the original choice. They had another guy in place, and they'd already started shooting some scenes with this other dude. I'm not going to put anybody on blast because that's their job. But he started working. Joe Pesci said, "We don't have much chemistry together. It's not working." And then they brought in Daniel Stern, and which is surprising to me because I couldn't see anybody but Daniel Stern playing that role.
Yeah.
Even against Joe Pesci, like you could replace Joe Pesci with another main bad guy, but Daniel Stern's comedic presence in this made it so much more.
My main problem with this movie in the past, and again, this is younger version me,
Sure.
taking things entirely too seriously, like we've seen in the comments before. I've loosened up quite a bit since then. I was mad Joe Pesci was in this. I'm like, that's not Joe. Joe Pesci should be hitting somebody over the head with a bat, stabbing him in the neck with a pen. Like, that's
Right.
That's Joe Pesci.
That's my business. That's what I do.
But this movie opens with the McAllister family preparing to spend Christmas in Paris with Peter and Frank's brother. Frank, by the way, in this movie is an number one asshole. I'm just going to throw it out there. Pesci.
He's a horrible person.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And we all have one in our family. Just FYI. Pesci comes in dressed as a cop, just walks into the house. Nobody's talking to him. People are just whizzing by him. This is where I realized, is really right in the beginning, where my opinion of this movie started to turn. I used to think, God, I don't like kid actors a lot in these movies, especially when they put him in adult situations. And let's see what he does. But Kevin in this movie, Macaulay Culkin, does such a fantastic job portraying that he's the sane one. He's the normal one out of this whole family of douchebags that are running around like crazy people in his house. Once I framed the movie like that in my head, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Like, a lot.
The scene of Joe Pesci just walking into the house and standing there as people rushing around with chicken. There's a cop standing in your living room. if there was ever a definition of white people shit, I present to you this scene.
You're right. It's fact.
Either grab a piece of pizza or get out, cop. I ain't got time for you.
Beat it, copper. Okay.
Right.
So, and all the kids are the meanest people on the planet.
Don't you know how to knock phlegm wad?
They terrorize Kevin the entire, and this is just like a 30 minutes in Kevin McAllister's life. I'm assuming it gets worse throughout his life and leading up to this point.
Yeah, I don't think he's had exactly a joyride.
You were right.
The kid's running around asking, how do you pack a suitcase? I'm 8. I don't know what to do. And the only person that gives him any advice whatsoever is his older brother, who tells him to pack toilet paper and water.
Toilet paper and water.
Yes.
And in today's world, not a bad idea.
Exactly. But him and his brother Buzz get into a altercation when and listen, I get it, kids. This is the only thing I hated about Kevin. Expand your horizons. Get something other than cheese pizza. Okay, buddy? Like, you'll like other things. But the entire, there's one cheese pizza they ordered. They ordered 30 freaking pizzas, one entire cheese pizza eaten in 20 seconds.
Not to mention, you got that little shit Fuller knowing he's going to wet the bed, looking at Kevin and drinking water. Have you ever seen somebody, like a dog taking a shit and just staring at you? That's what Fuller's doing. Fuller is displaying his dominance right now. It's absurd.
Oh my God.
Fuller, if I were in the same building as Fuller, whether I'm related to him or not, I see that happening, I'm drop kicking that little fuck off the tarmac tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely.
He has no chance of getting on that plane.
Kevin attacks his older brother. They knock over some spilled milk, and everybody loses their mind and starts attacking Kevin. And even Uncle Frank here stops the entire party and yells,
"Look what you did, you little jerk."
To which not a single listen, I love my son, okay? If anybody's going to call him a little jerk and be a jerk to him, it's going to be me, okay? Even if my brother or sister or whoever in my family that's an adult decides to stand up and say this, I'm sorry, we're fighting. Nobody says word one to Frank. They're just like, yeah, little jerk. And it's just them staring down Kevin.
Yes.
Like they're at a club and you just hit on my girlfriend and we're going to fight now.
Yeah, Kevin basically spilled your beer on you when he accidentally bumped you in the crowded club. And you're like, my Jordans, bitch. Like, you got to calm way down in this family. And
Everybody.
I don't have a spawn, but I'm an uncle to many spawn. And what I can say is, I would never in a million. That's the shit you say for the drive home after the visit. Like, Jesus Christ, that kid's turning into a real jerk, huh? That's what you say to your lady at the end of the travel. You don't say that shit out loud.
Exactly.
Especially, I'm going to go ahead and float the idea that Frank ain't paid for shit on this trip. Frank's been unemployed for about 5 years.
Frank's on the plane stealing the salt and pepper shakers.
Put them in your purse. Put them in your purse.
Frank ain't paying for nothing. He's got... This is the type of guy that when you travel takes one suitcase filled with his clothes and stuff and an empty suitcase to steal stuff. Like, that's who Frank is.
You were right.
Kevin gets sent up to the third floor, the third story of their house, which the rest of their neighborhood, I noticed, is very middle class, maybe upper middle class, but their house is like a mansion. Talk about like building yourself out of the neighborhood. Their house is like enormous, brick, gorgeous. Everybody else got wood paneling on the outside.
Dude, watch the first Purge to learn how that story ends.
Exactly. But they send Kevin up to his room. They all go to bed. They got to wake up and leave by like 8 a.m. Power goes out. Phones go out. They all wake up late. There's a mad rush to get all the stuff out, packed, and get to the airport. They miscount because one of the neighbor kids is over, so they think that Kevin's there, but he's not.
The freedom of this little turd to just willy-nilly be, first off, talking to a driver in Chicago. I've been to Chicago many times. I've talked to many people in the transportation industry in Chicago. Let me tell you something. When they sound like this, you're not fucking around with your kids, okay? They're either booting you out that fucking car or they're turning you into a bratwurst.
And I want your kids to be safe when you take them for a ride. I make car parts for the American working man because that's what I am.
So this little shit, getting as far as he did to be counted, is a miracle. That's a Christmas miracle in and of itself. Yes. Then he starts going through the bag and he's like, awesome, pulls out the older sister's underwear. He's taking pictures.
Yeah.
This kid is a trip. His family's going to Orlando to lose this kid at Walt Disney World.
Get out of here!
His parents pay as much attention to him as Kevin's parents pay to him. So Kevin apparently, and listen, I don't know an 8-year-old on planet Earth that sleeps past 8, just FYI. But whatever. Kevin wakes up, they're all gone. And the night before...
Kevin had a big night making his kill list. Let's be straight. Kevin got about 2 hours sleep at actual nighttime. Because he's just writing like, Aunt Fuller, and Uncle Frank. Oh, you want to call me a jerk, Uncle Frank?
Hell yes.
This is a big conspiracy theory online, and I'm just going to say it right now. This is why I keep referencing kill lists and things like that. Kevin McAllister grows up to be Jigsaw. There is no doubt in my mind. Because this kid is playing booby traps before the internet existed. And that's the other important thing you have to remember when we get into the crux of this movie is there was no internet. Yeah. This engineering is coming from his mind.
Do you want to play a game?
He wished his family disappeared the night before. He wakes up, nobody's around. And literally when this happens, he acts like how I act when my family goes away for the day. He shoots the BB gun in the house. He's eating trash food, watching old movies. Like, I'm like, oh, that's literally what he stiffs the pizza guy, orders pizza, and doesn't tip him.
Dude,
I'm like, oh.
20-cent tip.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
He breaks into his brother's room. He steals his money, throws some shit around. He does go into the basement, and he sees the furnace that he's scared of. Now, I have a question. Yeah. This is the biggest damn furnace I've ever seen in my entire life. Now, I know it's got to power half a city because their house is so big, but was this thing powered by coal? Because it's got the big grate in the front.
Yeah, dude, that was the one problem I had. Literally, the only problem I have with this entire movie is the furnace and not being scared of it, because I'm sure it's meant to be like in his mind the furnace is massive and opening its mouth, blah, blah, blah. But that furnace, one, is from the 1800s.
Yes.
And two, that's that's not even pellet. That's a wood-burning furnace. How much? Sure. There's no wood anywhere around. How much wood are you going through to heat this mansion you live in?
It takes a lot.
You intro the wet bandits. Harry and Marv, they're breaking into everyone's house on the street because apparently the entire neighborhood goes on vacation for Christmas.
Yes. Which was never a thing for me. I had family that lived, like, we were the only ones where I grew up. All my extended family lived outside the state. I don't think we traveled, but maybe one time.
Yeah.
That wasn't a thing.
We traveled every year for about 15 years.
All right. Affluent AF, huh?
No, we
Check
drove.
You out.
We drove. We didn't fly because we've already established that I'm cheap.
You were correct.
I mean, we travel, but like if you look around my neighborhood, there might be 4 or 5 families, 10 families that the whole neighborhood just gone.
Yeah, this is an entire suburban block.
Kate finally figures out that they forgot Kevin at home while they're in the air flying to Paris.
If it makes you feel any better, I forgot my reading classes.
They land, they try to call the cops, and we've talked about this on the show before. The most incompetent cop. These are the most incompetent cops out of all the movies we have reviewed. And I get that it's supposed to be funny, Like, listen, comedy is not lost on me. But this was kind of infuriating to me for a little, like, 2-minute scene. I was like, oh my God, I'd jump through the phone and choke out both of these morons.
Right. Like, again, we get it. It's a comedy, but also, your 8-year-old son is technically missing. I'm not going to say the title of the movie. I don't do that.
I have a son who's home alone.
You don't know what's wrong with it. He's 8 years old.
Yeah.
He's been by himself since you got on a plane to go to Paris. That's not a short flight from Chicago.
You're right.
Point being, these cops just don't give it. Like, yeah, we'll send somebody by.
You want us to go to your house just to check on him?
We'll send a policeman over to your house to check on your son.
She doesn't say how old they are. She's just like, my son's home by himself. We're in Paris.
Yeah, my 36-year-old son is at home alone.
Hey, Mom! The meatloaf!
Call Lenny living in your basement and tell him he's okay.
But
I don't get it.
I have two really important questions here, because they get to the phone bank, because that used to be a thing, and everybody starts calling friends and family and neighbors and yada yada. They reach nobody. Based on their character and personality from earlier in this movie, I'm going to venture a guess and say they didn't call anybody. They took all the change and pocketed it so they could pay video games or some shit later.
Uncle Frank's wife was definitely forced to pocket all of the change.
Put them in your purse.
Oh, yeah.
The kids, I believe, actually tried to call because they're kids and they're stupid. They don't get it. But Uncle Frank was like, yo, Linda, pocket that, because you know what's coming if you don't. Uncle Frank beats his wife. I'm going to go ahead and say it.
Yes.
Marley, the old guy that apparently kills his family and buries bodies and stuff.
Which, do you think that was intentional? I didn't look up this fact, so if you guys know it out there, let me know below. But do you think it was intentional he was written as like Scrooge's business partner's name?
I don't know. But I would assume so.
Thanks.
I would assume so. But that's just me.
Cool. That's the kind of great and pithy banter you get here on Kiss the Reviews.
You were right.
Marley, I'm sure, lives across the street. Marley
across the street or next door. I don't know how they're.
Is the only neighbor that's home. You don't have Marley's number?
No.
Apparently not, because he's a serial killer.
So
he knows. Marley knows that literally the entire neighborhood is spreading rumors about him being a serial killer.
I know, right?
That's crazy.
So my first question is, you don't have Marley's number, but you could write that off as apparently the parents think he's a serial killer too, and nobody does anything about it.
Yes.
I'm going to answer this one for you right off the bat. Case closed. Marley doesn't answer the phone after 6 o'clock.
That's very true. But
when Murder, She Wrote comes on, the phone goes off. End of the discussion.
But my second question is, Kate goes in her purse and gets change to give to everybody to make an international call at a payphone in Paris? Now, I'm not a mathematician. I'm not an economist. I don't know what international rates were like back in 1990, but I know I used to call Italy with my family, and that's expensive. So you're doing this. How much change you got in your purse? That's all I want to know.
Maybe they got to drop a quarter to connect to the operator in America, and then they're just calling collect. Because that also used to be a thing.
I don't know. But those were the only two questions I had
trying
here.
To bail them.
But at least Kate is trying to like get home and get her kid. Even though
she's the only one that can. John Hurd does not care.
He's like, just fly 2 days later. It's cool.
Yeah. And then he rubs it in her face. Spoiler alert at the end. She's like, how are you guys here? Oh, remember that flight you didn't want to take? A Bafangu.
Oh, he took the morning flight, remember? The one you didn't want to wait for?
After this, Kate finally gets to the United States, but can't catch a connecting flight to Chicago. She hooks up with John Candy, the polka king of the Midwest, and gets there. They get a U-Haul and then they travel to Chicago with her?
Seeing John Candy, dude, that was amazing. I know he's in the movie. I've seen this movie a million times.
Yeah.
But dude, just seeing him on camera,
he's so good.
That got me a little bit. I love him so much.
I've literally almost anything that I've seen him in, I've really liked, and he's just really good in this. Like he's classic John Candy. So she takes the U-Haul with them, goes cross-country to Chicago so she can get home to save Kevin. On Christmas Eve, Kevin overhears Marv and Harry planning on breaking into his house that night at precisely 9 p.m. And, you know, for criminals, they're very timely. Like, they show up at precisely 9 p.m. to break into his house.
Marv has enough watches that
yes.
They can keep time now very well.
Very absolutely. Absolutely. So he decides to, instead of calling the cops here, build a series of booby traps in case the robbers get into his house.
Because he's amazing. Not only does he build a series of offensive traps, he builds a series of defensive traps to keep them out of the house. Yes. He has it when you're outside, I'm going to make it very hard for you to get in. Once you're in, your ass is mine.
Yeah, once
then I'm throwing paint cans and irons and blow torching your fucking head off, dude.
Once you're in,
he's Jigsaw.
It's time for.
Do you want to play a game?
So after this, Kevin goes to see Santa Claus, asks for his family back. He goes to the church to watch the choir. This is where he runs into Scary Marley, and they get into a very heavy conversation about family and how Marley doesn't talk to his son anymore, and this is his only chance to see his granddaughter because she's in the choir. Like, for a comedy, it went really heavy. It just took like a right-hand turn.
Bro, they got deep.
Yes.
They got deep and emotional, and they hug it out. It's like, I'm not a serial killer, and it's like, cool, I'm not actually just a punk little kid.
No, because Kevin...
like, I have Benjamin Button disease. I'm 98 years old, it turns out.
And Kevin doles out adult advice during this whole thing, proving that, once again, he's the most normal one and the most adult in that whole household. But then he goes home, sets up all his booby traps, and hilarity ensues.
And it's a lot of fun. And it's pretty ingenious traps, and I'm telling you right now, I had not forgotten one of his traps. I remembered all of them in my brain.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
When the war breaks out on the streets, when the riots start happening next to Uncle Corey's house, let me tell you something. I am Kevin McAllister the F up. I got extra paint stored. I got an iron. I don't even use this iron. I just got it set up in case you open the door at the wrong time.
Are you kidding me? I went and bought micro machines just to have people fall when they come into the house.
Yep.
Kevin basically maims Marv and Harry here.
Well, first off, Marv dies multiple times. The second, he takes the iron shot to the face, which would have immediately high concussion problem.
Yes.
Anybody in the NFL is like, dude, that guy's got CTE right now. The fact that he got up and then takes another wallop to the dome with a paint can, full paint can, he's dead.
Oh, absolutely.
He's just dead. Like, this side of his brain is jelly and it's coming out this part of his eyeball.
And here's the other thing too. He puts the heater thing on the doorknob. Okay.
Yes.
This is what I had a problem with. And not for any other reason than this actually happened right before we watched the movie last night. My wife was baking cookies for Christmas.
My wife.
She accidentally grabbed the pan with 3 fingers for 2 seconds. Oh my God. And her hand was burnt to hell. Joe Pesci grabs it, holds it for a half an hour, goes, oh, Scooby-Doo's it into the snow, hand in the snow, and then he's fine. Marv is dead. Joe Pesci's hand looks like, I don't even know what, the Toxic Avenger.
Like Freddy Krueger's face.
Kevin then gets to the neighbor's house, but Harry and Marv ambush him there. Marley shows up and bashes them both in the head, takes Kevin home. Marley's...
Now, this would have been a great scene, I think, if you let Joe Pesci become Martin Scorsese's Joe Pesci. So Kevin opens the door and he's like, "Hiya, pal." And you see Kevin go, and then all of a sudden, still on Kevin, you just see a pencil go, frack, 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 and just spurts of blood coming out. Amazing.
I don't think that's very Christmassy, but, you know, I'd like it.
That's what I do.
So Kevin goes back home, right? The next morning, he wakes up and, you know, he asked Santa for his family back and he doesn't see them or hear them. So he's sad. He then hears his mom come in, calling for him. They have this like really weird standoff, like, "You left me at home by myself." Then he smiles, they hug it out.
Well,
and
this
then,
is weird too, because he only smiles after she says, "I'm sorry."
I'm so sorry.
This woman did everything she could to get back. All he has wanted since he heard a robber might be coming around was his mother. "Mom, where are you? Mom, Santa, all I want is my family back." First word he says is, "I want my family back. I want my mom," blah, 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 blah. The 28 Kennedys that are in this Irish Catholic family follow.
Yes.
I don't know. But he sees his mom. She walks in the door. He's like, "Oh my God, my mom." And he just kind of frowns at her. And she goes, "I'm so sorry." And then he's like, "Got you, bitch." And then runs to her. Psycho. All you wanted was your mom, and you still make her grovel.
Well, here's the question here's the question that I have. So after this, they hug, right? And then the rest of his family comes in. They all come in. "Oh my God, Kevin, I can't believe you didn't burn down the house. You're not dead," yada, yada. He makes no mention that there was an attempted burglary and attempted murder at his house. And I don't know how long the time span was that they were trying to break in until Marley hits him in the head with a shovel. How much time did he have to clean up that house? Because he messed up the house.
Well, that's why Santa couldn't get his mama there on time. Because Santa was busy having all the elves clean up that house.
So he cleans up the whole house, makes no mention of the burglary, attempted murder, any of that stuff. And like everybody's just super happy. The dad finds the gold tooth and is like, that's weird. I don't remember anybody in my family having gold teeth. I'm surprised Frank wasn't in this scene like, "Here, let me see that. Look at that."
Put them in your purse.
Put them in your purse.
But Kevin then goes upstairs. He looks out the window, sees Marley with his son and his son's family. They're hugging it out. They give each other a wave. And then the movie ends with Buzz yelling at Kevin,
What did you do to my room?
This time around watching this movie, again, I got the opposite feeling that I got than when I watched Dennis the Menace. Mm-hmm. Dennis the Menace nearly gave me an ulcer.
Yeah, that kid was just an asshole.
Rewatching that. Listen, this is just a fun movie. And again, you watch movies, you suspend disbelief for a while. It's a fun little movie. And Macaulay Culkin, I know everybody gives him credit for this movie. I don't think you can give him a ton of credit. I don't think people give him enough credit for this movie. I think he did
100%.
I think he did a great job. The acting's really good. It's actually funny. Like
it is. I caught myself laughing multiple times.
Yeah, for one of these movies that typically give me anxiety, this was actually like I laughed throughout it. It was fun. I had a good time. Merry Christmas, yada yada. So I really liked the movie. I think it still stands up. My wife and my son watch it every year. I might actually have to join them. I did have one real main issue with this movie, and it was the audio. I don't know. So we purchased this. My wife purchased this a few years ago on Amazon. So we own it on Amazon. When they cut to the plane, it's like normal audio throughout this entire movie. But when they cut to the plane taking off, the plane landing, the another plane, It's so loud. The rest of the movie's here. But as soon as you get a plane on camera, just the audio shoots through the roof. I didn't know if that was just my TV or the copy that we own.
Yeah, I don't.
That was my only issue with it.
I don't really remember that. So if you're a semantic asshole like Armando and you heard that same audio, comment below. Because I didn't hear that at all. But
yeah, no,
I wasn't trying to pick a movie apart. No, I'm just kidding. I loved it. I love this movie. The second Home Alone really should have been where we find out they leave him again because of something Kevin set up this time, so he can serial killer train with Marley, who's already killed the family. The son left Marley because he saw him doing a murder. And he's like, I can't do this, Dad. And he's like, get out then, son. And now he's come home. He's hacking up his in-laws. Kevin's over there to practice. Way to go, Dexter style. And that's how we lead into Saw.
Hello.
That's all I really got. I love this cast. The cast was great. I think everybody, that was the other thing I really liked. Daniel Stern, you already mentioned him. He's fantastic. Catherine O'Hara is awesome in this. Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci, like the whole nine. They picked the perfect people for every character in this movie.
Oh, yeah, and everybody played their parts well. Even Uncle Frank, like the actor did a great job because I despised him. And if you can make me feel any way about you, you're doing a good job.
He did such a great job. If I ever see this guy out on the street, like the actual actor, I might do something to him. I'm just saying. Like,
man, don't hurt Uncle Frank.
But that's all I got. Do you got anything else?
I don't. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Right.
Hope you're having a great day.
Merry Christmas. We'll see you guys next week.
Twat us on Twitter.